Live on YouTube. I thought I'd change things up a little bit for you guys and show you the inside of a coffee shop, and then obviously just have a little bit more fun today. Hopefully, some fun. I don't know. Today is Friday. It is December 4th, 2020. We are into the last month of the year. Part of me is pretty excited, to wrap up a year. Another part of me is, just hey, I say often that I'm a man of faith. I don't shy away from it at all. And the Lord has, man, He has blessed my family. The idea that I got laid off from Suzuki in January and then launched, the Power Sport Academy. There was unemployment, there was a severance package, there was, the COVID stimulus check. There were things that came through, and people that aren't of faith would say, well, everyone got that. Everyone got a benefit, but I rely on the Lord for guidance. I rely on the Lord for keeping myself, even keeled, calm, reflective. And I will just give you my own personal testimony, and that is that um, faith in the Lord has allowed me to have a certain grounding and to understand where I'm at, where I'm going, and that He always provides. There's been an answer every month, and I think a lot of people would be surprised that I would say that. Now, I recognize that there's believers all over the world that have dirt floors, right? Do I need to have, Hayabusa in the driveway? No. Do I need to have a 2015 Volkswagen in the driveway? No. Do I need to live in this beautiful house in Southern California? No. There are a lot of things that I've been blessed for, that I've worked for, and that those opportunities have come my way, and I'm very thankful for it. So, um, the other thing that has really been weighing on me, and I'm, you know, against my sister's advice, she's like, "Man, don't get wrapped up in that. Don't get wrapped up in that." And I haven't been wrapped up in it. I haven't, but I do a lot of work online, and as I'm working online, things come up. And then I thought, you know what? Jump off of Google Chrome, jump off of Microsoft Edge, grab one of these, not making a bunch of recommendation browsers, and just start doing some research. I've got a lot of people in my network, in my circles, that are making scoffing content about how crazy the president is, or that there's absolutely no fraud. And what bothered me about people saying, well, there's absolutely no fraud, for the election, was that in 2016, everybody was saying Trump won through fraud. And so I'm like, wait a minute. You can't say there's all this fraud in one election and then in the next election go, well, there can't be fraud. And just how definitive they were about it. The other thing that caught my attention was I had heard that when they were in the hearings in Arizona and Georgia, and they went to play videos with evidence that we hear there's no evidence of, the media got up and left the room. They wouldn't cover it. When the president was talking, they cut him off on mainstream media. When when his press secretary is speaking, even Fox News has cut her off, saying, "Well, we have to verify the facts. We have to put this by the fact checkers." And I'm thinking, well, why does the media think we're not smart enough to handle what the president is saying? Why does the media think we're not smart enough to absorb what's being explained or shown in court? Why would they leave the room? And that so they can get on TV and say, we have yet to see any evidence of this, right? When they quote Barr as saying there's no evidence of fraud, they're not quoting Barr. They are editing Barr. The rest of his quote is, so far we don't see enough evidence to have affect a change in the election status. That means I'm still investigating, and that means we have seen fraud, just not enough to affect the outcome of the election. And so that brings up lots of other questions, like if you already identified fraud, what if you did a full forensic study? If you did a full forensic study, what would that show? I don't want to go down this whole rabbit trail for today's video. The thing is that when you watch like the hearing in Georgia, for example, and you see what people are talking, they're talking about, and I did the training, so I got to be more transparent. I trained 1,200 technicians how to run the election station in Los Angeles County. I was hired by the county to teach the process. And so when I'm watching the hearing and they're talking about chain of custody and broken locks on the ballot boxes and broken locks on the ballot storage containers and, the way that they bundled the ballots and the way that the BMD, the ballot marking device, works, um, when they discuss that, I'm listening and I'm going, well, that doesn't match the training I had. That doesn't match the, that's different. That's certainly not, that's certainly not the way the election is supposed to run. And then the idea that they would set up um, unsanctioned counting areas away from security and count after hours without monitors or without any, supervision. It's just foolish. And so, if you listen to the closing statements of the hearing in Georgia, you'll hear a lot of, well, okay, maybe that doesn't look right. Maybe something is wrong. But since one isn't competence, fraud, well, when you have the appearance of orchestrated incompetence, that signals fraud. So I've said before, I'm actually afraid that Trump's going to win. Um, I, they boarded up businesses here before the election because they were afraid if Trump won, what the riots would do, the damage that would happen, the injuries and the violence. And we shouldn't be afraid of our fellow citizens that way. But that's what it was. And then, Trump lost the election. Nothing caught fire. Nobody knocked down any buildings. There were no shootings in the street, right? People didn't go crazy. But I think after seeing the office of the president-elect that doesn't exist, especially before the electoral college happens and there's no concession, when that gets turned around, I think there's going to be mayhem. This is my personal thought. I think people are going to lose it. And I think a lot of that responsibility falls on the fact that it has been systematically deleted. I mean, this is what, if you listen to Joe Rogan, he talks about it, right? It's not like I'm inventing this stuff. But when the media refuses to cover, refuses to repeat, and then actively denies things and conditions the public to turn a blind eye to something, sooner or later, that blindness is going to be a surprise. And when that surprise happens, I think people are going to lose their minds. And I'm really hoping to not get embroiled in any of that. So that's my piece on that. And you know what? I don't know why I feel like I'm led to say anything about it. I have nothing to do with the election. I have, I'm one vote. I have nothing to do about it. I have certainly no say in how it turns out. But when you look at it's like that phrase, follow the science, right? Well, follow the science. Okay, great. Let's follow the science. Have you ever seen so many statistical abnormalities in an election in your life? Can you believe that Biden did so miserably in the rest of the country compared to Hillary Clinton, who lost to Trump, except for the cities that have these huge abnormalities in their voting process that are part of the hearings, right? So when you take a look at that, you go, well, that doesn't make any sense. And then when you look at how many rules were broken in those areas for how to process an election and how many numbers don't match, the number of ballots counted should match the number of people that showed up to vote, right? Things just don't make sense. And so I think when they get to the bottom of that, things will flip over. And I think that it will be a little bit of mayhem. And a lot of that, I said, is due to surprise. A lot of people just won't see it coming because, they've been conditioned to think that it's all crazy and that it's a conspiracy theory. Conspiracy theory is an interesting term. It's just meant to dismiss people as being nuts when they use a little bit of critical thinking. But unfortunately, we've seen a lot of conspiracy theories come true lately, haven't we? One of them hung himself in jail after taking little girls to an island. So it's just nuts. I find it very hard to believe that this is where we're at, but this is where we're at. Now, let's talk about something positive. Okay. Here's the deal. Fridays, that's my mentorship morning with Hayden. I love to take the boy out and just, spend some time with him on Fridays. We do a devotional reading. He's got a devotional. I've got a devotional. We both read to each other. We share our thoughts about that devotion, and we try to start the day out on a positive note. I've been up for hours. I got up way before the sun today. I started with the 5-minute journal. 5-minute journal got me off on a tangent doing that. I've been assisting customers with Lifter LMS and helping them with their learning and membership site decisions. So that's been going well. And I've got meetings planned most of the day. I've got people hitting me up on LinkedIn like crazy. And I've got, it looks like at least 4 meetings today that I'll be handling on my smartphone here after my mentorship breakfast with Hayden. Today for the mentorship breakfast, we're going to go to a bike park and, get a little exercise on after a snack. So super, super stoked, excited. I'll hold you guys in prayer for your family, for your weekend, for your productivity. If you are looking for work, I hope that opportunity comes your way. I've got a couple opportunities that have popped up here in the last month or so, and those are starting to come to a head. Hopefully we'll see that flush out, and then we'll have some decisions to make here in our house. But other than that, we've got the Power Sports Roundtable kicking off on the 9th. The Power Sports Academy is still open for enrollment. And we've got 18 other courses on the Mañana Academy that are up for leadership, speaking, training, coaching. And I've got some other products that are going to launch online over the next 30, 60, 90 days. So have a blessed weekend. I know that my content today was not overly joyous. But, if I'm the reason, if you're generally not into this kind of content, and I'm the reason that you open your mind and go, hey, I'm going to go to Brave. Brave is it's like DuckDuckGo, but it's not owned by Google, right? So there's DuckDuckGo. People talk about that all the time. They push that a lot. Brave is one that's not owned by Google, and that's another browser. But you can go to DuckDuckGo or Brave, and you can just look stuff up without signing into anything, and you can start to see some of your own information. Watch the hearings, like watch the hearing from Arizona, watch the hearing from Georgia, and don't depend on a soundbite from the news. Watch it. Listen to what Trump is saying when he makes those speeches. He's made 2 speeches this week where he goes, this is probably the most important speech I've ever made. And then he starts talking about kind of the steps or the processes. And when you listen to the very purposeful words that he's using, we should take heed. Some of those words are legal terms, and when he uses those the way that he does, they have meaning. They imply action. They imply that something's going on behind the scenes. And I think that's he's doing the presidential thing and communicating to us. And when the media says these unsubstantiated rants and raves of a madman trying to prove fraud that is non-existent, that's been debunked multiple times, when they lead in with that, they condition you to think the man's not saying things that are true. If you disallow the commentary from the media and you just listen to what he says, and then you listen to the hearings, and then you see the responses from the people in the hearings, when they do the cross-examination stuff, you start to have your own thoughts, right? You can think any direction you want, right? I'm not going to tell you how to think, but I really, 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 I implore you to look at the root source of information and get off of some other channels and do some research objectively. Put just a little bit of time in, not a bunch, don't make it a full-time job, but put a little bit of time in, and then, prepare yourself. For me, like I said, I'm not actively campaigning one way or the other, but I do want to be prepared mentally that there are changes that can happen one way or the other. I mean, the soundbite where Biden's video was released yesterday, where he says, with Obama, my one request was to be the last person in the room when he made a decision. Kamala will be the last person in the room when I make a decision. I will defer to her if we, if we object on something, and we have a moral cross, a moral objection with each other. Maybe I'll just pretend that I've got some kind of illness, and I'll step aside. What? You're the president, bro. you know, um, when you see that, you're like, what is happening here? When they report that he's got a broken foot, and then they show him walking out of his car without a limp with his brace on. There's just weird stuff going on. And so I watch it all, and then I take it in. And I don't usually post about it publicly because I don't want y'all to think I'm crazy. And you know what? I do reach out and I network through a lot of these online tools, right? I use YouTube, I use Facebook, I use Twitter, I use those things. And because I use them, I see a lot of traffic through the stuff that's on there. And I try to not get absorbed. I try to focus on the work that I'm doing. But I do have some opinions. And I feel that if people are like me and they stay quiet and they never say anything, I feel that that lends more credibility to kind of the mainstream media's narrative than it deserves. And so some of you might read this and see this and think that I'm nuts. But again, I feel that maybe by me saying something, if you feel this way or you're having inclinations to do your own research, but then you dismiss it and go, nah, I don't want to look like a crackpot or a crazy person. If you know me, think about the conversations we've had, think about how educated we are, think about how objective I've been in our conversations, think about how open I am to hear your side, or if we had an objection, think about how I've listened. If you've been in one of my training classes, you know that I'm very open to ideas from the floor. So I'm not a closed-minded person. So if you're feeling like you want to research something, you start to discount yourself and go, I wouldn't be able to figure it out anyway. I'll just wait and see what they tell me later. Don't wait to see what they'll tell you later. Jump in, educate yourself. That sounds condescending when I say it that way. I don't mean educate yourself because you're an idiot. I mean, open yourself up to additional streams of information and then allow yourself to begin to disseminate things. I'll be honest with you. There's a lot of people that I think are wackadoodle on both sides. And somehow or another, I need to take in the root cause of information and kind of make up my own mind. Like I said, I'm prepared for however which way it goes. But I want to make sure that mentally I am prepared for whichever way it goes and not blindsided or shocked when things suddenly seem to flip, right? So have yourself a great day. I went crazy. It is December 4th. It is Friday. It is a little bit early on the schedule, but that's because I do the mentorship morning thing with Hayden. And I'm looking forward to knocking that out of the park and having a good time with him. Stay positive, stay productive, and try not to let what I said, bring you down any. I guess I just want you to feel open, prepared for whatever happens. Have a good one. Love you guys. Bye-bye.